Hari Om. Start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are looking at this self-realization aspect as though there are components involved or stages, and this is also discussed in the Yoga Vasishta and also in the Vichara Sagara and also in the Panchadasi in the 7th chapter by Vidyaranya Swami. So here we are talking about the Paroksha Jnanam and Aparoksha Jnanam. So after listening to the scriptures, I understand what is the nature of Brahman, but I not really recognize that Brahman is myself. That is, the Mahavakyas are not just understood as part of the Vedanta Shravanam, but has not internalized that knowledge. Yes, I am Brahman, but I still need to realize or I still need to experience. And this is a common statement for many Vedantic students who have been listening to Vedanta and still say, I have not realized or not realized, I had to experience it and I had to sit in the meditation. I have studied enough Vedanta, now I have to meditate. That means he has to study some more Vedanta. Why? Because what is the experience is not an experience as an object of experience, and if it is an object of experience, that experience is limited by time and space wise, and once you come out of that experience, then you are back again to this. It's not a nirvikalpa samadhi state you are, it's not some kind of unique experience, it is experience all the time, but recognition that what you are experiencing and how you are experiencing and what is because of who you are experiencing is a recognition, a clear knowledge only. That is what is essentially involved, the Aparoksha Jnanam. Aparoksha Jnanam is neither Pratyaksha Jnanam nor a Paroksha Jnanam. Pratyaksha Jnanam is a perceptual knowledge, that means only objective knowledge, whereas the Paroksha Jnanam is indirect, which is beyond the sense input, and if I am knowing it either through the logical process of inference or through the Shabda Pramana. Therefore, that Shabda Pramana is Apta Vakyam, like listening to the TV and seeing what's happening in Afghanistan or Iran. So those are called the Shabda Pramana, but it is Laukika Shabda Pramana, where I can go there and confirm it, and therefore it is a weak or Durbala Pramanam. The weak Pramana, means of knowledge. But Vedanta is also a Shabda Pramana, but it's not a Durbala Pramana. It is Pramana by its own right, because you cannot go and see or do something because it is something about higher nature which is not amenable for the objective tools like Pratyaksha Pramanam. It's not something to see, but something to understand only, because it is not a perceptual type of reality. So not even logical also says that which cannot be deduced by Naisha Tarke Namatirapaneya, says Kathopanishad. It cannot be logically deduced, because any logically deduced had to be supported by Pratyaksha Pramana only. But this is Vedanta Pramana, is its own Pramana, and it's a Prabala Pramana. It cannot be negated by Pratyaksha Pramana or Anumana Pramana or any other Pramana. That's why it is called Prabala Pramana. For that only Vedanta becomes a means of knowledge, and that is about the nature of Dharma and nature of my Supreme, which is essentially supports the whole whole universe itself, and that is through the Mahavakyas. All that is to be understood. And if this understanding is there, and the recognition is one aspect, but at the same time, as long as the body, mind and intellect is there, I am still transacting in the world. Therefore, there is still BMI, the body, mind, intellect, BMI and senses also involved. All that is there, and the indriyas and the sense organs and indriyartha, that is sense objects, are also there. And I cannot but transact in the world, irrespective of the jnani or ajnani. As long as body, mind, intellect is there, perception will go on, transactions will go on. But this knowledge will be helpful in understanding the nature of the transactions, and therefore in the Gita emphasize this is essentially indriyas indriyasya ragadvesho vyavastitau tayor navasa magachet te yasya paripantino. So this indriyasya arte. So the indriyas, the sense organs will go after sense objects, because they are always tuned towards the higher. And sitting in meditation is only to withdraw the sense organs. But if indulgence within the mind, then you are not essentially doing anything. And ragadvesho vyavastitau. So every object that I perceive through the sense organs will have ragadveshas, because the mind has the ragadveshas as a filtering medium. So everything gets filtered through that. I cannot see the object as it is, the Ishvara Srishti as it is, without getting clouded by my ragadveshas. So the way I see is different from the way other person sees, because his ragas or her ragadveshas are completely different, and our outlook will be completely different for the same things too. So therefore, it is because of the ragadveshas cloud the vision of the reality, and therefore that's called, Krishna says, indriyasya arte, and therefore they are ragadvesho vyavastitau. They are always embedded in the ragadveshas. Not that the objects have ragadveshas. Objects have nothing to do with the ragadveshas. Ragadveshas come from the mind, and that's what is propelling that. And ragadveshas come into picture because of jayato vishayan pumsaha and so on and so forth. So one has to go, as we mentioned in the last talk, that from the Prakruta Purusha to a Samskrita Purusha. Prakruta Purusha is the one who indulges himself in the sense objects, and he lives only at the sense level. And Samskrita Purusha is discriminative intellect, what should be done, should not be done, what can be enjoyed, what cannot be enjoyed, how one should be earning this dharma, artha kama. The artha kama has to be, the artha has to be done within the dharma, and kama also can be enjoyed, but which should be within the dharma. That is what is a Samskrita Purusha is, and that Samskrita Purusha is what he devotes his time through upasana and so on. All that is involved in terms of Panchamaha Yajnas and so on in the Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga. But one should not get locked into that, and one should go beyond that, and that's what Kenopanishad says. It says, in fact, it says, Yat chakshusha na pasyati, ena chakshum supasyati, tadeva brahma tvam viddhi, nedam yadidam upasate. So this nedam yadidam upasate is repeated 5 times by Kenopanishad. It says, na idam. Nedam means na idam. Yadidam upasate. It is not that what you are worshipping is Ishvara, because Ishvara is not something you can invoke the Ishvara in any form to invoke for worship. But now you have to go beyond all that. It says that yat chakshusha na pasyati, yan manasa na manute, yes, Shrotre na Shrutam, all that is essentially implying that which I can, that what you see is not, that what you hear is not, that what you think is not, because all that are objects only. What you see is only an object, but it's not an object. It pervades all the objects. It is in the unmanifested form, avyakta, that is essentially mayadhyakshena yena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. In that whole universe is projected, but maya tadamidam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina. I am pervading this entire universe in an unmanifested form. That means it's not something to see or something to hear or something to see. It is not subjected to the indriyas. And therefore, whatever I see, whatever I hear, whatever I think cannot be that. So I had to go from triad or triangular format, Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, that three stages of that, three aspects of that involved in the initial Karma Yoga and Upasana in the Bhakti Yoga. But now I have to transcend that to go now to dual nature where it is Atma versus Anatma, self and not self, and everything comes under not self, that which is not, which doesn't belong to the self. Self is that pure Satchidananda Swarupam, existent conscious entity. Any unconscious entity cannot be that. So therefore, if there is a conscious entity, that is Brahman, and that has to be recognized. So I had to go from the Prakrita Purusha to Samskrita Purusha, where I am going from a tamasic to rajasic to sattvic, but I had to go even beyond the sattvic, and using the rajasic and sattvic, I go beyond tamasic nature, and using sattvic, I go beyond the rajasic nature, and using that Nirguna Brahma, I have to go beyond the sattvic nature also. So I am beyond the gunas, and that's guna atitam, that which is nirgunam, that is because it's infinite. Infinite cannot have any gunam, and that which pervades everything and it enlivens everything. Therefore I go from the Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara triad to binary format, that is I am the consciousness, the self, that is Atma, and everything else that is only Anatma. But even in Anatma, I pervade that also as the very existent principle, not the Nama Rupa, that is which is changing, but there is a changeless entity, and that has to be what is to be understood in the Tattvamasi statement. Hence his statement is Aitadatma Idagum Sarvam Tat Satyam. That Idagum Sarvam or Idam Sarvam, this everything that I see, every object, every thought, every objectifiable entity, that concludes Idam Sarvam. And Aitadatma, essence of Idam Sarvam, that means essence of everything is nothing but pure existence, and that existence itself is nothing but Brahman, and that Avarana Shakti of the first aspect that I see Brahma Asti in everywhere, because Brahman being infinite, and now I have to understand that I am that Brahman, and that is essentially through Mahavakyas. It says Aitadatma Vidagum Saryam Tat Satyam, that Sat is Tattvamasi, you are that Satyam, is the instruction of the Mahavakya, and that has to be understood. So this has to be done by oneself, and Krishna says Uddare Atmanam 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 Avasadhayet Atmaiva Yatmano Bandhu Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. If I go along with as a Prakrita Purusha, I go down the drain, because I am getting involved in the sense objects. But going involved in sense objects by itself is not wrong, is not a problem, but that leaves a bandhakatvam or bondage. Now I depend on my happiness on them. That becomes a problem. A jnani may also enjoy the objects, but he doesn't have the bandhakatvam, bondage. If it is there, he enjoys. If it is not there, also he remains. But his happiness doesn't depend on it. So therefore, he neither avoids or go after it. That's what essentially jnanam involves. Not that he will be not enjoying the world itself. He will be just like any other, but the attitude through which he operates itself is completely different, and that should be understood. Now this, the Viveka Chudamani talks about in the Nididhyasana, where one has to use the discriminative intellect, that is the sharp Viveka. Viveka is Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka in every transaction also. And therefore, samsara is due to identification of Atma with Anatma. Anatma starting, the body, mind, intellect, and that's called ahankara. And that which is beyond the body, mind, intellect, I still identify myself, and that's called mamakara. So ahankara and mamakara are the two aspects of identification myself with the body, mind, intellect as ahankara, and beyond that this associated with the other things that are beyond the body, mind, intellect becomes a mamakara. This is my house, this is my wealth, this is my bank balance, this is my that means I am trying to invoke this is my car too, my house too, my everything. So the my house, my car, all are this as this is mine, and then ultimately I am this, because the more I have, more I am. So that ahankara called adambitvam, dambam is that whatever I possess, I become proud of it, and that becomes amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, rajyavam. So dambam is what I possessing, what I have. Amanitvam is trying to pose that I possess what I really don't have it, but I have it. So I impose as though I am really great, even though I don't have it, but I put a pose that I have it. That's called amanitvam. And adambitvam is trying to pose with what I have also. Both are essentially obstructions, because what that is called mamakaram, and mamakaram includes the whole, not only the whole jagat outside, but all the relationships and everything else comes onto picture. Therefore samsara is due to the identification that is superimposed on the anatma. So atma, anatma, self, that unself, not self, and I am superimposing myself on top of anatma as this is me also. All my biodata is only this. I am this, I am this, I am this. Identification of myself with this is what is called the ahankara. That's called anatma, which is essentially namarupatmakam. Krishna also talks about beautifully in the 15th chapter of Gita. We'll take that as part of the Nididhyasana. It says in the 15th chapter, where it says Uddhare matmanam atmanam avasadhaye. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Urdhvamula madashakam ashvattam prahuravyayam chandamsi yasya parnani yastam veda sa vedavit. So urdhvamula madashakam ashvattam. So it's the samsara has been identified as the aswastha vruksham, similar to banyan tree, where it is essentially a tree upside down, urdhvamulam, with the roots above. Roots means from which the whole life is being sucked in. That is from the Brahman, and that is beyond, which cannot be seen. Therefore it's urdhvam. Urdhvamulam adashakaha. The branches are all over. That's what any structure of any organization, there will be one top, and there will be subsequent different branches and becoming bigger and bigger, just like urdhvamulam adashakam. So this is how the organization of any organization, and the whole cosmos is also a very big organization with the roots above, and the whole tree is expanding, and that's called samsara ruksha. And urdhva madashakam asvattam prahu avyayam. This is called avyayam. It is indestructible samsara. That means inexhaustible, that is beginningless samsara, and this is the tree that is growing continuously, and that's what it says. Chandams yasya parnani. The leaves are called chandam. Chandam says that which is metrical, that which is essentially is the scriptural statement, or Vedas becomes the leaves, but chanda is that which is methodical or scriptural, or that which is structural, and that means the whole life itself comes under chandas. All knowledge is structural only. That means it has a structure. Every chemistry or a physics or a biology you study, it's a methodologically there is involved, and all that comes under, all knowledge becomes, or objective knowledge comes, both the karma yoga part of the Vedanta as well as all the other knowledge of aparavidya essentially are called chandas. Chandams yasya varnani yastam veda vedavitu yaha tam veda saha vedavitu. One who knows this correctly, clearly, the whole tree of samsara, aswatha vruksham, is what this description by Krishna in the 15th chapter. And he continues with the definition, and that will take up in the next talk. See how we have to use this knowledge and what is required, which is also discussed in the Vivekachudamani as a part of Nididhyasana. With this we stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyati. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.